Canon law is very vast, so we cannot cover everything. Maybe the second session I will initiate a discussion on marriage. So many people have marriage problems. Not that you have problems, you have to guide people who are in problems. How to go to the church and the annulment process and things like that. How they work. You can ask me and then I will start with it. What is required for a valid marriage? First of all, a valid marriage requires three essential factors, three essential things. What makes the marriage is consent. What makes a marriage is consent. It is consent which makes the marriage. Sometimes some people are thinking that sexual intercourse made the marriage. Not at all. It is consent to love each other, to accept each other is what that makes a marriage. Most important thing. Consent makes the marriage. Consent between a man and a woman is what makes the marriage. The consent must be valid consent. Valid means it must be given freely with due discretion. So you have to evaluate and then give the consent. And then with due knowledge. With due knowledge. So the consent should be valid consent. So most of the time a marriage fails because the consent is not good. So in the Code of Canon Law, we have canons 1195 to 1104. Sorry, 1095 to 1104. Speaking about matrimonial consent. The canon speaks about there must be minimum knowledge that is required. Minimum knowledge is now already children who are 6, 7 and all know so much about marriage. Minimum knowledge, it is a permanent partnership, it involves sex. That is the minimum knowledge that is required. A person must not be deceived into marriage. A person must not pretend to marry while he in fact doesn't marry. A person should not exclude an essential element in marriage. Exclude an essential element. What are the essential elements? Unity, indissolubility, fidelity. These are all essential elements of marriage. A person, I will marry her, but then if she is not alright, I will marry somebody else. Right at the beginning itself, he says that I am going to marry somebody else. Then that consent itself is not valid. There is no marriage taking place. Only that the church has to declare that there was no marriage. So many marriages can be declared invalid by the church. That means there was no marriage at all. If there are elements that vitiate, that affect the consent, that render the consent false. In India, for example, we have so many forced marriages. Because my father told me you ought to marry that boy, so I married him, like that. It is not a marriage. There is also, for example, even reverential fear. My father is a heart patient. If I don't marry him, he will die, so I married him. So it is also a forced marriage. Forced marriage. Fear marriage. Because of error, because of deceit, because of lack of due knowledge. The consent is invalid. Even if they lived together for 3 years, no problem. Even if they lived together for 10 years, as soon as the person finds out that the marriage consent was affected, he can always approach the court for annulment. Consent is what that makes the marriage. Whenever somebody comes with a problem, why did you marry? I did not know that he had another woman already. And I did not know that he is continuing her relationship already. As soon as the woman found out, he breaks the relationship. You go to the Diocese tribunal, and then they will show the way that the man was not married. Even if children are born. Even if children are born. No problem, because it was consent is what that makes the marriage. The second one is, a marriage must be free from impediment. The impediments make the marriage invalid. Impediments. There are 12 in our code. Canon 1083 to 1094. So, what are the factors? Some impediments are by divine law, they cannot be dispensed. Father marrying a daughter, close relative. Brother marrying a sister, you cannot dispense. Brother marrying his own sister, or father marrying a daughter. These are by divine law. Or a person was already married, so he cannot marry again. So when the wife is alive, he cannot marry again. This is the thing. Some impediment, important. So that also cannot marry again. So after marriage only, the girl finds out that the man is important. So in these cases, these are natural law impediments, divine law impediments. Then we have the marriage must be celebrated in canonical form. Canonical form means there must be two parties, two witnesses, and a priest who is authorized. Priest or deacon, that is called canonical form 1108. This is what is required for a valid marriage. Valid marriage. During the marriage preparation courses, you have to see, do you know the person? Do you love the person? Do you intend to live? The unity of marriage, only one man, one woman, lifelong. So these factors have to be explained. Then you love you are in engagement for 5 years, you love the person and suddenly you say, problem, I don't want to come. Do you want to live with that person lifelong? So what is the Christian understanding of marriage? You have to know. So this is some of the things I expose. Afterwards you can ask the questions. These are the three things that has to be remembered with regard to marriage. So you know the Christian marriage is unity. What is the purpose of marriage? Well-being of the spouses. Good of the spouses. Then procreation and education of children. Procreation and education of children. What are the properties of marriage? Unity and indissolubility. Essential properties of marriage. So this is in Christianity we always say. Then we also say good of the spouses also. Good of the spouses we said fidelity, tri bonum, fidelity, and Christian marriage is also sacrament. Of course, children we already mentioned. These things we cannot make any compromise with regard to Christian understanding of marriage. People exclude any of this by a positive act of the will, then it is not a marriage when somebody attacks it. So, with regard to the marriage, we have to remember these basic things. Another thing, with regard to indissolubility, means marriage is unbreakable, we say. Marriage is unbreakable. All marriages, even Buddhist marriages, Taoist marriage or Hindu marriages are unbreakable. You should not break. I will finish afterwards, you can ask the question. Indissoluble, that's what we say. Then, when a valid marriage between two baptized persons has additional firmness of a sacrament. Sacramental marriages are more indissoluble, more firm. Sacramental marriages. And sacramental marriages, that is between two baptized, and consummated means nobody can break. No power on earth, not at all. Absolute firmness, absolute indissolubility, sacramental and confirmed. So you remember this point again and again. Many people ask, when there is a valid marriage between two baptized persons, it is a sacrament. They can be two Protestants, one Orthodox, one Catholic, whatever it may be. If it is a valid marriage, suppose two Catholics marry civilly, is it a sacrament? No, because what is missing in that? The canonical form is missing. Canonical form is, only all the three elements should be there, free from impediments. It must be, there must be consent. So all that. It is not a sacrament. Two Protestants marry in their church. Is it a sacrament? Two Protestants marry in their church. Is it a sacrament? Yes. Why are you having doubt? Because I said valid marriage in that of the two baptized person, it is a sacrament. One Catholic, one Protestant marry in our church. Is it a sacrament? Yes. One Catholic and one Buddhist marry in our church. Is it a sacrament?
Yes.
No. I said 2 Catholics. Some of you saying yes. One Catholic and one Buddhist marry in our church. It is not a sacrament. It is not a sacrament. So, remember that. So, in some situation, I said only this is absolutely indissoluble. A sacramental marriage which is not consummated by sexual intercourse can be broken by the Holy Father. Even though it is sacramental marriage. So also non-sacramental marriage, a Catholic, a Buddhist married. So the Holy Father can break it. The Holy Father can break it. Or 2 Buddhists married. One of them wants to marry a Catholic. The Holy Father can break it. Even if the Buddhist doesn't want to get a baptism. Even if the Buddhist doesn't want to get a baptism, the Holy Father can break, because it is non-sacramental. But suppose one of them gets baptism and marries a Catholic, we can also, the diocese can do it by Pauline privilege. Paul says, because of your faith, your unbaptized party doesn't want to live with you. You need not be a celibate all along. By your new marriage itself, the first marriage is broken. By your new marriage. That is called Pauline privilege. But in these cases, we should also ensure that we are civilly safe. Paul has said all those days and church follows it, that's another matter. But you should get a civil divorce on your part to be free to marry in the church, because your marriage must be recognizable also in civil law. Church law is one thing. Even if you get church annulment, if you don't get civil divorce, you cannot marry in the church. You cannot marry in the church. Even though you have got annulment in our tribunal, you cannot marry in the church without getting church annulment. In India, for example, the government recognizes our marriage. The government does not recognize our annulment. So, simultaneously, you have to go for civil divorce and also go to the ecclesiastical court. Ecclesiastical court. Okay, now I just started this issue. Now you will have any problem, different couple. We can take up questions on that. Any questions regarding this marriage? What is required and all? This is an important area. You should be clear and you should enlighten others also. Yes. Yeah. You. What?
Before the Holy Father breaks up the marriage between 2 non-Christian people, he has to examine whether or not what their intentions are, right?
Yes. Yeah. One of them wants to marry a Catholic. That's why we come into the picture. We come into the picture.
So a Catholic marries a non-Catholic, there's sort of disparity of power, right?
Okay. Another thing which I did not say. So we call it. So one of the things is we use 2 different words. A Catholic wants to marry an unbaptized person who doesn't want to become a Catholic. This is called disparity of cult marriage. Disparity of cult marriage. Disparity of cult marriage. A Catholic wants to marry a Buddhist. It is called a disparity of cult marriage. A Catholic wants to marry baptized non-Catholic. A Protestant or Orthodox, whoever. Baptized non-Catholic. So this is called mixed marriage. Mixed marriage. So in the broad sense, even this also we call, but strictly speaking, mixed marriage, both are baptized, one is Catholic, one is non-Catholic. Disparity of cult is, one is Catholic, the other is Buddhist or Hindu, whatever religion that is. So now, we are, in this case, we call it dispensation. You have to get dispensation from the bishop. In this case, since both are baptized, we call it only permission. We call it only permission. The second case, we use two different words. The first one is you have to get dispensation from the bishop. Second one, you have to get the permission from the bishop. Bishop or vicar general. Both are authorized to give. Yes? Same thing. Same rule. Not unbaptized. Same thing. You have to get the dispensation from the bishop. I said non-Catholic, I cannot say 100 religions also can be there. Any religion. But then I will explain it afterwards, you will know the difficulties. I'll finish this point. Now, in these cases, the Catholic is taking a risk. Whether you marry a non-Catholic or non-baptized, you are taking a risk. At the same time, there is a fundamental right to marry a person of your choice. Fundamental right to marry a person of your choice. So earlier, 1917 code was very strict. It said the other party also must promise, other party must be baptized if possible, all these things. Now, right, nobody can be forced to accept the Catholic faith against their conscience. Some of the people are accusing us that we are forcing conversion. Our law, we have to tell them, our law itself says that we should not force anybody to accept our religion. Take for example 748, what does it say? 748. 748 regarding our own
all are bound to seek the truth.
Okay, second paragraph.
It is never lawful for anyone to force others to embrace the Catholic faith against their conscience.
It is never lawful for anyone to force others to accept the Catholic faith against their conscience. Our law itself says. Some of the fundamentalist groups, they go about preaching, you are worshipping devil, you are doing like, don't talk all this nonsense. It is none of your business. You can present Christ to others, that is another matter. Our law 748 paragraph 2 clearly says, it is never lawful for anyone to force others to accept the Catholic faith against their conscience. They have to follow their conscience. You present Jesus, if they come voluntarily, that is another matter. Even on the occasion of marriage, you should not force the other spouse to become. You can present Christ. Our spouses, our girls, our boys, you can say Christ. If you follow Christ, it will be good. In these cases, the church is even now intent on preserving the faith of the Catholic. So whether it is disparity of cult, marrying a non-baptized, or marrying a non-Catholic, the church says that certain conditions have to be followed, both to get the dispensation and the permission. So let us read that. I'll finish the point, then you can come to that. 1125. What should the Catholic party do to get the dispensation? 1125.
The local ordinary can grant this permission if there is a just and reasonable cause.
There is a just and reasonable cause. Yes, continue.
He is not to grant it unless the following conditions are fulfilled.
Yes, following conditions must be fulfilled. Only then this dispensation or permission. Yes.
1. The Catholic party is to declare that he or she is prepared to remove dangers of defecting from the faith.
So I will remove all dangers of defecting from the faith. I will not become an unbaptized, a person or belong to that religion. Yes, then.
And is to make a sincere promise to do all in his or her power in order that all the children be baptized and brought up in the Catholic Church.
I will try my level best to bring up the children in Catholic faith, even though I am marrying a non-Catholic. Yes.
Number 2, the other parties to be informed in good time of these promises to be made by the Catholic party.
This should not be secret. Other party must also be informed that the Catholic party has made such a promise. Then,
so that it is certain that he or she is truly aware of the promise and of the obligation of the Catholic party.
Yes. Then,
number 3, both parties are to be instructed about the purposes and essential properties of marriage.
Both parties must know. In this case comes the Muslim. So the Muslim has the right to marry 3 wives, 4 wives and all. So the person must know that this marriage is one of unity and indissolubility. talak, you can't go away because this is permanent. Both parties must be instructed. That's why in Rome and other places, they are very hesitant to give permission or dispensation to marry Muslims because their theology of unity and indissolubility is different. Unity and indissolubility. This is a permanent partnership. With regard to some other religions, for example, they also believe in unity and indissolubility. Even if they don't believe, both parties, even the non-Catholic party, must know the terms and conditions on which the Catholic marriage rests. Unity and indissolubility. It's very clear. The permission or dispensation is not to be given to the Catholic party. Formerly we made other party also to promise in the old code. Now other party need not promise, but other party must say that I am aware of it at least. I am aware the Catholic party has made such a promise. Now we take about this called both the disparity of cult marriage and mixed marriage. Mixed marriage. Yes. What is your question?
In the event that the priest,
Yeah, you are stick to yourself to the matter which I treated. Okay. Yeah.
the marriage preparation, the priest finds out that the non-Catholic party is his or her conscience actually can accept the Catholic faith, but doesn't want to. She recognizes the Catholic faith as the way, the truth, and the life, but doesn't want to accept it. Then what do they do?
I don't get the question. What the non-Catholic party? What does it say?
He recognizes Catholicism as the faith that the real faith, basically everything, but then still don't want to accept the faith. So how does it affect?
Is the non-Catholic party ready to accept the faith?
She recognizes but doesn't want to accept it.
No. We already said no. No need of accepting. No need of accepting the faith. I said. So this is in this situation. I already told you that the baptized party, the non-baptized party remain non-baptized. The non-Catholic party remains non-Catholic party. Still they enter into a marriage. In the mixed marriage it will become a sacrament. No problem because both are baptized. What is basically required is only baptism. What is basically required is only baptism for sacrament. The first case, first marriage, non-baptized means it is not a sacrament. No problem. That's why we are giving freedom, fundamental right of each one to practice his religion. Don't allure them to follow your religion. But present Christ by your life, by your proclamation, that is okay.
Father, sorry.
Yes.
You mentioned just now the disparity of cult marriage is not a sacrament.
Yes.
Oh, I can't disagree.
Already last class we told the disparity of cult is not. But what is a sacrament? A valid marriage between two baptized persons.
Right.
Get it in your mind very clearly. We asked questions again and again. A valid marriage between two baptized persons only is sacrament. Note also the word valid marriage. Invalid marriage between two baptized persons is not a sacrament.
But then if the dispensation from the bishop and all this all things is still considered there?
Yes, it will be invalid. If you don't get dispensation, it will be invalid.
Once you get dispensation.
Dispensation. Because here it is permission, it will be valid but unlawful. That's what we make the distinction in canon law. When it is simple permission, it will be unlawful only in this case because both are baptized. So for that is dispensation because it is one of the impediments. One of the 12 impediments that are listed in canon 1083 to 1094.
So if because of this, if there's any, it's easier for this dispensation, the Catholic and non-Catholic, to get announced once the marriage didn't work out.
Yeah, in the first case, not second case, both are baptized, it is sacramental, it is also equally difficult. First case, it will be if the marriage doesn't work. That's why don't force the other spouse to embrace your faith. It is not sacramental, alright. You get some grace, but not sacramental grace. If it doesn't work out, easier to separate. That's why don't force the other spouse. Yeah, it is easier because sacramental and consummated. You are very intelligent to perceive that better, less stable. Yes, because it is non-sacramental marriage. A non-sacramental marriage can be easily broken, but sacramental and consummated marriage cannot be broken. Yes. Okay, we'll give a chance. Then I'll take it.
Is there any difference if a person is baptized
No difference. Baptism is the basic. Okay, confirm, no problem. Confirmation does not bring an extra consequence on the person. Of course, it equips you with the Spirit to lead a witnessing life. That's another matter. Confirmed, okay. The law says, as far as possible, a person who intends to marry should also be confirmed. But if the person is not confirmed, you can go ahead with the marriage. Nothing wrong. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Philip.
Father, one of the elements regarding whether it's marriage or not is importance in mission.
Yes.
Can you enlighten the importance in infertility? Because there's a confusion between infertility and importance.
Impotency, okay. So with regard to the impotency, should not be confused with sterility. Sterility is inability to have children. Impotency is inability to perform the sexual act. These are two things. Sterility is not an impediment. But if a person is sterile, the person should not hide it from the other spouse. If it is not before the thing, so the person is sterile, it is known, the person cannot suppose womb is removed or something like that, that you keep the other party ignorant. Then the marriage can be declared invalid on the ground of cheating. On the ground of cheating. So we should not confuse between sterility and impotency. Impotency in canon law is understood in three actions. For example, it is simple thing like the erection, the penetration and the ejaculation. Simple as that. So if the person is sterile, it is no problem. If the person is sterile, it is no problem. Perform the sexual act to receive the male organ and to perform the sexual on the part of the woman, on the part of the man to perform the sexual act. This is what is impotency. Sometimes after marriage only they find out. That means the person is not suitable for marriage. The marriage is invalid, even if they live together 2 years after marriage. That's it. So with regard to the infidelity, again, fidelity is completely another matter. See, one thing is this, what yesterday also someone was discussing this matter with me. You should not, somebody because of human weakness was unfaithful to the spouse. Man or woman was unfaithful to the spouse. The marriage doesn't become invalid automatically. But you can appeal for divorce in civil law and get divorce because she has another woman. But when will we say that the marriage is invalid in the church law? The man had this woman already before marriage and continues to have this woman. That means he excluded fidelity even at the time of marriage. In this case, even our tribunal will declare the marriage invalid. So a man commits adultery. On the ground of adultery alone, we can't declare a marriage invalid. On the ground of adultery alone, but on the ground of adultery, the church itself can issue a decree of separation while the bond remains. At the time of marriage, everything was alright. After 5 years, he started going with other man, other woman. In these cases, the woman can dissociate herself, or man can dissociate himself from the other spouse. So another confusion is, whoever is divorced should not receive communion. No, not at all. Whoever is in an invalid marriage should not receive communion. Whoever is in an invalid marriage, what happens is, so both are Catholics. Catholic and Catholic. They live together 5 years. Life is terrible. One of the spouses asks for divorce from the civil side. Then divorce. She is remaining alone. She can make a good confession and then marry. But then she marries another person civilly. Then both of them cannot receive communion. Because their marriage is not declared, is not recognized by the church. Only when you get ecclesiastical annulment and civil divorce, then you are allowed to marry again in the church. Only then you can receive communion. If you refer to last week's bulletin magazine, how is it called?
Catholic News.
Catholic News. It is given. There is a wrong impression. All divorcees should not receive communion. No, not at all. Divorced and remarried outside the church cannot receive communion. Divorced and remarried outside the church. Divorcee remaining single Nothing prevents them from coming to the church. So they are having, so the problem is in Europe now. They hope that some more positive solution. You know, Europe, only one marriage out of 3 marriages is successful. Formerly, one marriage out of 3 was breaking. Now, only 2 marriages end in divorce, 1 marriage only is successful. Now, the problem is in Europe, Germany, France, and all, the divorce